political news now. It's opening day at the legislature.
It's all getting underway. ABC4's chief political correspondent Glenn Mills is at the state capitol this afternoon, joining us live. Glenn?
That's right, you guys. Can you believe it? Here we are on day one already. Over the next 45 days, lawmakers will be considering hundreds of bills. Some of those will directly impact the LGBTQ community. Troy Williams here, Executive Director of Equality Utah. Great to have you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
It's great to be here.
We want to focus on this session, but let's go back first if we can, because conversion therapy, it was a big battle last year. It got to the point where it was really, I would say, bitter. But here we are today. Utah now the 19th state to ban conversion therapy in the country. You have to be ecstatic.
Yeah, we're thrilled because we know that this will protect young people from this abusive practice. And we're so grateful to Governor Herbert for taking decisive action. He saw how things were being politicized and how polarized things had grown to be, and he said science must prevail over politics, and he kept his word.
There were times last year where this looked like it was in good shape, and then all of a sudden, you know, everything fell apart. Were there times that you thought, boy, maybe we wouldn't get to this point?
You know, I knew that when the governor and when lawmakers heard the stories about how people have been harmed by this practice, that hearts would open. And we certainly have seen that. So many people have come out to support the LGBTQ community. And when we arrive at the Capitol now, every year we have more allies here to support us.
Big bill you'll be watching this year. It would make it so that someone to transition, a transgender individual transition, would have to be 18 before they go through the process. You will be taking a stand against that bill.
That's
Explain why.
Well, we've spoken with Representative Daw and we're working with him. We see this as this is an effort that's orchestrated nationally, but here it's been orchestrated by the Utah Eagle Forum. And it's an attempt to prevent young transgender people from having access to evidence-based medical best practices that could be life-saving for them. So we want to make sure, we have a lot of children and parents that are calling us concerned and frightened that if this bill were to move forward, that it would jeopardize the health and safety of those children.
So talk about, from your standpoint, best practices. What type of a time frame are we looking at as far as best practices are concerned?
Well, we want to talk with, number one, with doctors who are sort of established in this area, who are working with young people. When a young person experiences gender dysphoria, usually they start working with therapists and doctors. They might start presenting as the gender that they feel that they are and know that they are. And then they might be put on puberty blockers just to hit pause for a little bit to see if that persists. And then when they're older, then they might consider hormone therapy. It's very rare for minors to actually have gender confirmation surgeries.
But under this bill, the steps prior to that would also be banned until 18.
Right, so we haven't seen the language yet, but these bills are orchestrated as a movement across the country, and they popped up in South Dakota, Florida, making it a felony for doctors and parents to provide life-saving care for their kids. We can't have that in Utah.
That's one we'll be watching as it comes out and moves forward. Let's move to the Equal Rights Amendment. We were talking about Utah potentially being the 38th state to ratify that. However, we've seen Virginia already take that step.
Today.
Right. So legal looms, legal problems potentially still loom. So how does that change the approach here in the state of Utah?
So yeah, a poll that came out just recently by Utah Policy that over 70% of Utahns want to see women included in our founding documents. They support ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. So we want to make sure that if Utah wasn't the 38th state to ratify it, we're going to be the 39th state to do it. So we want to make sure that women are elevated and that they have equal access to everything that we have as men, right? So we're going to keep working on that.
We hear this argument, well, it's already in the state constitution. We're talking a federal movement here.
That's right. We don't want a sort of a patchwork of rights across the country. We are the United States of America, so we need these federal protections as well.
And so the strategy moving forward is we still want to be the 39th in case legal problems happen elsewhere, and potentially Utah could move in.
That's right. So there's movements in all of the remaining states that haven't ratified yet to actually get the ERA ratified. So we're going to keep working on that.
All right, Troy, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
We'll be following these stories as the session moves through. Thanks for joining us, and we will have an opposing view, I should mention, in the next half hour with the Utah Eagle Forum on a couple of the bills that you talked about. So we'll be back at 4:30. Also, Utah lawmakers will be considering a virtual ban on abortion. We'll get into that as well. For now, we're live at the Capitol. Glenn Mills, ABC4 News.
All right.